7 steps to start flipping houses. All right, guys, we're going to talk about the 7 steps for you to start flipping houses. We're going to go through each one of them in detail here. So the first one we're going to talk about here is a hard money lender. And the reason why that's important and the reason why we're talking about this is when I first started in real estate investing, I spent a lot of time and I spent a lot of money and I went out and found properties. And I found a property and I put it under contract. And guess what? I called a couple of lenders and I said, I've got a deal. And they said, I'm not interested in doing it. So what are you talking about? This is a good deal. I said, well, I don't like that area, or I don't want to have that much of a loan, or had different criteria they didn't like about it. And so then I would go out and I found another property and they said, I don't really like that one. And I said, well, what do you like? I finally got smart and said, what do you like? And then I'll go find what you like. And then I know I can have funding, because without funding, I can't do anything. And so the whole process of flipping houses starts with hard money lending. And if you're not familiar with what hard money lending is, this is also called asset-based lending. And what that means is, rather than lending upon you, they're lending upon the house itself. You see, a regular lender is going to lend you like 97% and only require like 3% down payment if you're getting an FHA type loan. But with that, they're going to be looking at a few things. They're going to want to make sure that you don't have any bad credit. They're going to want to make sure you have a good debt to income ratio. They're going to make sure every bill's paid on time. You never have any derogatories. You've got all those different types of things. But a hard money lender doesn't care about that. A hard money lender is simply looking for equity in the property, meaning how much is the property worth versus how much are we doing? So a hard money lender is going to say, I'll lend 70%, but they're going to lend based on the after repaired value of the property. So you might be buying the property for $70,000 and it may be worth $100,000 after it's repaired, and the hard money lender will lend you the full $70,000. And so that's one thing. And a lot of people don't get started in real estate because they're saying, I don't know how I'm going to come up with a whole bunch of money. There's some very creative ways to do that. And you should check them out. We have 17 ways to come with little to no money down on real estate investment projects. I've got a video on that you're going to want to check out on the channel as well. Okay, guys, let's talk about the next thing. And the next thing is creating a blueprint, right? So creating a blueprint is basically reverse engineering your success. I find a lot of people that don't know where to do or where to go or what to do or anything else like that. And so what we basically do is we reverse engineer your success. We say, hey, at the end here, I want to do a deal. I want to do this beautiful house that I'm drawing. And with that, I want to make $25,000, profit after it's all said and done. And then we say, okay, what are the steps that happen before you make this profit? Well, you've got to close on the property. Okay, yep, you got to close on the property. You've got to do some rehab, on the property. Okay, and then you've got to buy the property, that type of stuff. So we've got to buy the property. I got to rehab the property. I've got to resell. It's probably a better word than close. I got to resell the property and then I make my profit. Well, what happens before I buy the property? Well, I have to find a property. Okay. Well, how am I going to find a property? Well, we use a method called driving for dollars. So what you basically do, and we're going to talk about it here, is you drive and you look for specific properties. Based upon those, you get in contact with the owner. So then the question is, well, how much time do I need to spend driving? And when I drive, how many houses am I going to add? Potential houses. So how many am I going to add? And then once I do that, then I need to call. And then once I call, I need to go on appointments. And when I go on appointments, then I need to go under contract. So I basically reverse engineered my success. This is what I want. And then you can get even more detailed, and that's what this blueprint is. And this blueprint basically says, you need to drive for this many hours, you need to add this many potential contacts, you need to make this many calls, you need to go on this many appointments, you need to get to one contract, and then you move forward this process of buying, you got to close and everything else like that. But it reverse engineers your success. The other thing is this blueprint, we've created a software that does this for you. It's really cool. It'll say, based upon how many hours you can drive and how you want to find properties, it's going to take you 20 weeks on average to find a property. Now, is that exact? No, but it gives you some ideas, starts you heading in a direction so you know these are the things I need to do each week, and eventually I'll have some good things that will happen if I follow this system. Now, if you'd like to get a copy of my blueprint that I put together, it's called the Next Property Roadmap. All you've got to do is text me your email address to 435-294-0433. Text me your email address and I'll send this to you absolutely for free. Okay, so we've talked about getting a hard money lender and how important that is. We've talked about creating a blueprint. Now we're going to talk about getting some softwares here. See, there's multiple softwares that are going to be really helpful for you in real estate investing. One of them is going to help you understand your driving and where you're going. Another one is going to help you determine what areas to actually drive in. So you're going to do some zip code research and determine which areas are the best ones. So you're spending your time fishing where the fish are rather than fishing in a pond that has no fish. So you'll do that. So there's a software that's going to help you out with that. There's also a software you can use to help you call people so you don't have paralysis in making calls. It dials multiple numbers. It does 300 at a time. And you're also going to need a software that's going to help you with a skip tracing to actually skip trace those so you actually have people that you can actually go out and call. So those are the couple of softwares that you're going to get set up. They're not terribly expensive. That said, I think you probably need about $3,000 to $5,000 available in order for you to get started in real estate investing. That money doesn't have to be yours. It could be a partner, a family member, a friend, but somewhere around $3,000 to $5,000 is probably what you need to start really getting into this. So we've talked about that. Now, the next step we're going to get into is actually we're going to get into driving. Once we've set up our softwares, now we're actually driving around. And when we're driving around, what we are looking for is we're looking for properties that are in disrepair. You see, what most people don't understand is a house in disrepair cannot be sold to a traditional buyer. Banks, Bank of America, Chase, Wells Fargo, whatever the case is, they only want to lend on properties that are inhabitable, meaning if there's problems with a property, that could be a huge expense to a new homeowner, and they don't want to get their loans in jeopardy. So if a property is not in great condition, they can't loan on those properties. So if you see a property that has a blue tarp up or broken windows, or you see one where the grass is too high or looks like it's abandoned or those types of things, it's a problem because the owner of that property has two options. They can either spend the time and money fixing that property up in order for them to be able to sell the property to somebody that can go get a loan from a bank, or what they're going to do is sell it to an investor that's going to pay cash or pay hard money. So what we're doing is we're driving around looking for those properties after we've used the software to do some research to make sure we're in the areas that we should be in. It'll surprise you how many of these you can find. Nationally, we find you can get about 20 properties an hour that you can add to your list that have some form of neglect or some form of something showing they're abandoned. 20 properties an hour. And that's what you're driving around and looking for. On average, I think you're going to be driving about 5 to 7 hours a week, depending upon how fast you want to have your success. If you do 10 hours a week, it'll be faster. If you do 1 hour a week, it'll take longer. But you just have to put that in perspective, which is one of the cool things about that roadmap that we put together. That next property roadmap goes through and gives you an idea of the time frame that it's actually going to take. So I'm driving around, I'm adding those properties, right? I'm doing that on a weekly basis. And then that leads us to our number 5 thing. The next thing that we're doing here is we're going to do what's called skip trace. And what a skip trace does is it gives me phone numbers, email addresses, and landlines for all these people that I just went and drove around for. I found their properties, right? And that gets me into the calling. Now, typically, I find you're going to get about 3 to 4 phone numbers for every single person you skip trace. And you're going to end up calling, you're going to end up needing to find, I don't know, around 2,000 properties that are going to fit in this criteria. If you're doing 20 properties an hour, it's going to take you a little bit of time to do that. And then you're going to make some calls, and you're going to call probably about 6,000 people. Now, will all those answer? No, but when you're dealing with a dialer that does 300 an hour, you can get through those pretty quickly, right? You're going to get through those in 18 hours or something like that, and then you're going to call them back again. Now, the first call you make might turn into a property, and the last call you make may turn into the property, or none of them, but it gets you moving in the right direction, and that's where the calling really comes into the equation here. Next, we are moving to the appointment. So once you call and you're calling them and saying, hey, would you have any interest in selling your property? And most people are going to say no, and some of them may be a little upset that you're calling them. Don't be discouraged. You're not doing anything wrong. You're saying, I'm sorry, be polite and be kind. But a few, or maybe just one is going to say, yes, I would be interested in selling my property. And with that, you start a dialogue. You get some additional information about the property. You understand their needs and their problems. And the next thing you do is you're going on the appointment. When you go on the appointment, which should be no more than 24 hours after the time you spoke to them, you've done your due diligence, which you'll use the software to do that as well, to pull your comps, to know the property's worth, and identify what's called your max allowable offer. After you've identified that max allowable offer, you're going on that appointment, you're making a relationship with the seller, you're understanding what's going on with the property, and you're putting that property under contract. Once you put the property under contract, then you're doing some due diligence. Then you are getting your contractor over there, making sure you understand the cost associated with that. And then we move into the next phase. And the next phase here becomes the closing phase, right? This is where you're processing the loan. You're working with a hard money lender to make sure the loan's actually going to close. You make sure you get your contractor bids. You make sure everything's in line. Get your title work done, your hazard insurance, and everything else. And then you actually close on the property. From there, a whole new process starts of rehabbing the property, project management, getting the property listed, and getting the property resold. But the emphasis, and what I want to make sure everybody's aware of, is most of the time that's spent here is actually on finding deals. You see, I think a lot of real estate investors think the easiest thing to do here is actually, to do everything else. No. The thing that is most important, the thing that you should be spending your time on, is finding great deals. That's where it happens. Most people delegate that success to a real estate agent or a wholesaler or something else. And occasionally those can be very, very helpful for you. Most of the time, you've got to go find your own properties. And that's what you're getting paid to do, is to go find these great properties. So these are the 7 steps that we're talking about here to start flipping houses. These are the first 7 steps in order for you to start flipping houses. Again, get a copy of that the next property roadmap by texting me your email address at 435-294-0433. Also, if you'd like to get a killer shirt just like this one, let me give you the view. Flipping Legends. If you want to be a flipping legend, all you've got to do is check out my live cast. It is every single Tuesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you subscribe and hit that bell notification, you'll be notified. Every single week, I give away a shirt similar to this, absolutely free, pay for the shipping and everything else. So please become a new subscriber. Check us out over at dohardmoney.com and make it a very profitable day.